Matt Gaetz probably put it best. And I very, very rarely quote Matt Gaetz in a positive. He said Matt Gaetz was furious, angry, ticked off. He said that Jim Jordan was knifed by secret ballot anonymously in a closed door meeting in the bowels of the Capitol. I'm going, pretty sure we saw that on TV. But remember, these are the people who, in a union election, we got to have secret ballot elections. But for the speaker, knifed by secret ballot. He was knifed by a secret ballot. Remember that, union folk? Remember that, workers, when the companies come to you, go, got to have a secret ballot. But also, again, 2 Matt Gaetz quotes in one day. He said on Twitter, "I'm told I have a punchable face." Yeah, you do. But here's the thing: Jordan lost again. Not surprising. This is one of those moments where, in the secret ballot election, when people could vote their conscience, 86 Republicans came out for Jim Jordan. 112 in favor of moving on to someone else, and 5 voted, yeah, I'm here. I don't really want to get into this pie fight. So now the lawmakers are going to go home. They're going to spend the weekend at home. They're going to probably hide. And I guess back on Tuesday, just going to take Monday off entirely. Just give it up. And what's interesting is you've now got the race. You've now got the race to who's next. Who's the next Republican that they're going to throw into the mix here? Who's the next person that they're going to jump in? Is it going to be Mike Johnson from Louisiana? Who? Yeah. Is it going to be Byron Donalds? Is it going to be, from Florida? Is it going to be Kevin Hearn from Oklahoma? Jack Bergman from Michigan, who my friend Jeff Timmer says is a conspiracy theory lunatic. I don't disagree with that. Is it going to be any of those crackpots? Now, here's the thing. I look at Byron Donald. I look at Mike Johnson. I look at Pete Sessions' name got thrown in there, too. I look at them and you go, non-starters from the beginning if you're a Democrat, because all three of them joined the 147 Republicans who voted to overturn the election. So I don't know how you can, in any way, shape, or form, choose them. Just saying. And Byron Donald, didn't he try and make up a bunch of stuff about Hunter Biden? And now we're going to trust him to run for speaker? No, I don't think so. But it should be fun and entertaining, if nothing else. Now, look, understand. I make light of this because I am so frustrated and angry. Because the reality is, these people are so dysfunctional. For instance, there was actually a Republican from Florida, Greg Stoob, whatever his name is, who is evidently holding a resolution on the floor to remove Patrick McHenry as the temporary speaker. So not only did they oust their speaker, there's a guy who they want to oust the temporary guy, which is interesting because McHenry has already threatened to quit. So, I mean, how much more does the American people need? How much more do they need to say this is not a serious party? These are not serious legislators. These are people who want to be in the minority. Pretty simple to me. But here again, as I've been saying, while it's fun to make jokes, while it's fun to make light of how dysfunctional this is, the deadly serious reality is there's trouble around the globe. There's things that need to be done here at home. And while the Republican Party still hasn't hit rock bottom, we've got real problems. Now, what I find interesting is the news, how the news media is covering the bullying that went on. But Rick, they're just being Republican. Republicans are just being Republicans. No, there's some death threat stuff going on. There's some harassment going on. CNN played a clip of some guy using a bunch of profanity, and oddly enough, played most of the profanity, just not the F-bombs, of this guy, talking to this legislator's wife about how he's going to follow her to the beauty shop and they're going to harass and molest her and all this stuff. And what's interesting is watching the panel of faces horrified. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. And you have the the death threats going on, and you have this kind of the bullying. Don Bacon, the representative, who they say is a centrist Republican. He says bullying don't work. Well, yeah, kind of a little bit does, because your wife slept with a loaded gun reportedly. But then again, I thought about it. It probably does that anyway. Doesn't want him anywhere near. I get it. But here's the thing: every lawmaker that voted against Jordan, every one of them, angry phone calls, messages, all kinds of stuff. In fact, Bacon was one of the guys who put that stuff out. You got this Drew Ferguson. His family started receiving death threats. And this is one of these moments where, now understand, I'm not advocating for death threats or harassing phone calls or any of that intimidation stuff. What I'm finding interesting is the response by our media that Republicans are being bullied and Republicans are getting death threats and harassed. I got to tell you, I heard the call on CNN. It was much nicer. It was much nicer than, I guarantee, what AOC gets. It was much nicer than anything Ilhan Omar gets or Rashid Tlaib. And while I may not be fans of theirs, I guarantee you they get much more vile garbage. My friends at the teachers' unions get much more vile garbage. They send me their phone logs. And this is one of these moments where it's interesting how our media now cares. They now care. They now care that it's Republicans being bullied by Republicans. It's now Republican legislators getting death threats from the people that they've been feeding outrage to for decades. And the thing is it was reported today that we have the House Freedom Caucus and Donald Trump. They've backed Jim Jordan and these crazy people who are not palatable to the majority of this country. And I read this piece. I'm not sure where I read it, but they said the Freedom Caucus and Trump and conservative commentators and influencers like Sean Hannity, they were pushing for Jim Jordan. And I'm going, maybe that's the problem. Maybe the problem is we've made this a horse race instead of, hey, how do we get something done? Because you know what I'm not hearing from any of these people? What their agenda is. Now, I do find it kind of interesting, and I remember Thomas Massey, the Republican from Kentucky's statement that, a little pressure, they're going to put these people who are voting no, going to put them through the meat grinder, and they'll cave by the end of the week. And I got to tell you, that never works for me. I'm one of those people who, and I got to think some of these other legislators are too. If you push me in a certain direction, I am going to push back twice as hard. So, that never seems to work. Because here's what I know. I know I can turn my phone off. If you're going to call me 1,000 times, I can turn it off. I know if you're going to send me messages and angry stuff, I cannot read them. Now, understand, a congressional office, you've got staffers who are answering the phones, and yes, they have to put up with some of the, and you know what you do then? What we used to do in the old days. You hang up on them. See how that works? This is interesting times that we're in. And I got a question of how much further it goes on the Republican side. And here, I got to have an optimistic moment. Because I got to, in this moment, be a little bit optimistic. Could this be the fever breaking? Could we be at a moment where maybe, the problem is staring itself in the face in the mirror? Could it be that the Republican Party is now looking at the problem and the problem is them? And maybe, I don't know, I'm hoping to go home, a little reflection over the weekend after not having done their job for a couple weeks now. That maybe they realize they are the problem, and maybe the solution is just surrender. Now, as I've said all along, majority should win. Hakeem Jeffries keeps getting the majority of votes. In a secret ballot kind of election series, in any election, the one with the most votes usually wins. Except if you're running for president with Electoral College.